All right, everybody, welcome to the Curious Friends podcast. Today, I am with TerryJosiah and Kristen Sharpe. Hello, guys.
Hi.
What's up?
Nice to have you guys with us.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about who you guys are, what you guys do, all that.
Awesome. So, TerryJosiah Sharpe. I am the CEO of Anthem Music Enterprises, combat veteran, father, volunteer here at Discovery Church, Colorado. And it's my beautiful, lovely wife, Kristen Faith.
Hi. So I'm Kristen Faith. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a creative. I love telling stories and helping others share their stories as well. I'm a bonus mama. Pretty excited about that. And I love my community. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. How long have you guys been in Colorado Springs now?
5 years. Just hit the 5-year mark.
5 years.
Half a decade.
That's awesome. And where'd you guys come from?
San Diego.
San Diego.
Beautiful, lovely city.
Nice.
America's finest city, actually.
West Coast is the best coast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a West Sider in Colorado Springs, so I just like the West in general. So
Love it.
that's awesome.
Love it.
So what brought you guys to Colorado Springs?
So my wife was doing some work in the nonprofit world and in specifically with domestic violence awareness. One of her retreats to help women that were going through trauma and trying to get out of it and trying to piece themselves back together. One of the people that went to the retreat was from the city. She saw what she was doing. She kind of started tapping into what we were doing just as a unit. And really took a liking to what we were doing and how we were impacting the community, and set up a meeting with her older cousin, who is one of the big philanthropists in this city. And that FaceTime meeting brought us out here for the first trip. We stayed about a week, and they just kind of like plugged us in with a bunch of different community leaders and members, and really wanting us to implement the things that we were doing in San Diego out here in the city. I just remember the very first day that we got here, they were like, yeah, we want you guys to move here. And I kind of like shrugged it off, laughed them off, and was like, yeah, I'm from San Diego. That's America's finest city. Ain't no way I'm moving from there. And then 4 trips later, over the course of the year, or over that year, the last time that we were out here, I performed at the Broadmoor with multiple organizations that are here in the city, and I sang "Rise Up" by Andra Day.
Nice.
And as I sang, "And I'll rise up," aerial dancers ascended to the heavens in the Broadmoor. And right after that, I looked at my wife and I was like, "Hey, maybe we should consider."
Yeah.
We were able to really network and do some incredible things out here. And so, a year of visiting every quarter and kind of seeing the different weather and having a good lay of the land, I really thought that it would be beneficial. And I posed that concept or that idea to her, and she kind of took it and ran.
We checked the cost of living, and we're so amazed at the difference between California and Colorado at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And literally we found a spot, and they were like, you could move in, but literally in the next 45 days. And so literally we came home that trip, told our family we were leaving, and pretty much came back a few weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So really, really quick.
Yeah, and a full leap of faith, like not really having anything situated out here. We understood the climate and how we could assist and where our strengths are and were, and just kind of like, well, the community looks like, they could use us, so let's just go out there. And we did that. And she luckily, like, she had her nonprofit, so she was sustainable and could work from wherever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas me, like, I didn't have that, and I was still going through a huge battle with the Veterans Affairs Office for as a combat veteran and trying to fight for disability and all of that. So I didn't really have anything cemented for myself, and it was a huge leap of faith. But man,
The move was worth it.
yeah, I'm so glad we did it, because man, we are in a place of life that that you always dream of wanting to be, but never really thinking that you can get there. and that's where I'm at right now. Is I'm actually living my dream, things that I never thought I'd be able to accomplish. I'm currently doing those.
That's awesome.
So it's beautiful.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about each one of your guys' organizations and things that you guys do. You said that you saw a need in the community. What was the need that you saw, and how do your organizations meet that need?
Sure. So in 2020, I transitioned out of the nonprofit that I created. And it's interesting because it was in the crux of the pandemic. But I knew that I wanted to spread my wings and offer the gifts that I was given to more organizations. The nonprofit that I created was reaching about 200 million people on social media, and we were raising about $20,000 on autopilot on Facebook per month during the pandemic. And so I knew that if I were to share those gifts with other nonprofits, our community would win even more. So I created 2 organizations. I called them my business twins. And one was Boss Babe Networking, and the other one is the Nonprofit Makeover. Both are committed to really giving organizations or women in business the opportunity to share their story. The Nonprofit Makeover transforms traditional nonprofits into powerhouses online. And so I teach organizations how to turn their followers and likes into donors and dollars. And Boss Babe Networking was inspired by really missing human connection. I created a networking group during the pandemic, right before the world shut down, because I missed people. And my husband can attest, I would literally cry at home because I missed people so much. And so I created a networking group really just because I loved people and bringing them together. And Boss Babe Networking turned into a community designed to empower women to share their stories and network.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then we have, one, the nonprofit that she transitioned out of was domestic violence awareness. Mm-hmm. And we still understand that there's a need for that. And I think the beautiful thing was just being able to share our stories as, for myself, not really understanding that I perpetrated abuse, that I continued the cycle, and I was trying to figure out why my relationships didn't work. Mm-hmm. And for her, falling victim to abuse, and then when you fall victim to abuse, like you're either going to mold into what the abuser wants you to be, or you're going to rebel and have some abusive tendencies to get out of what they're trying to force you to be. So domestic violence was, and having that, for me, my whole life, having that misunderstanding, and us being able to be a part of that organization and share our stories, we realized that need was huge here in the city too, in this community. And so even though she transitioned out of the organization, we're still, open and honest about communication and how our relationship works. Mm-hmm. And people, it's weird because Bible says, never put idols above God, right? And so I try not to look at anybody as an idol or anything like that. But can I gain some knowledge from somebody's success story? Absolutely. And we definitely feel like we have a success story in terms of relationship, especially going through all of the things that we've had to go through during we just celebrated 10 years. So during our 10 years, thanks. Yeah. Having so many things that we've been able to overcome together has been really special. So knowing that people see that and that can be used as a success story, that's something that we share as well, and understand the need for that in this community also. Yeah. And now aside from that, she loves being able to tell stories. I love being able to tell stories as well, but I am able to do it through music. So the biggest thing for me and as the CEO of Anthem Music Enterprises is we really want to help reimagine the way that independent artists create, entertain, and inspire locally, making sure that they understand the power of the music and the power of their words, and utilizing music to not just try and get what you want in life, but to give to life. And to give life through the music. And I think that that's really important. And a lot of that is missed in today's society with music. Yep. So utilizing music as a way to share your stories in a personal way and to give life through that is really important for us. And then it's not just that, it's important to capture all of that as well and to share that in a visual way. So we just built our studio on Garden of the Gods Road, which is right down the street from Discovery. How beautiful is that?
Yep, yep.
And it's called Anthem Live, and it serves as a creative incubator for all mediums of art. So that we can really help people share those stories, but visually as well. And you know, music is the heartbeat of our art. So we have a music studio inside of there, but visuals are important. So we have a lot of different set designs and places that people can share their stories inside of that building as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
sounds like you guys work in tandem a lot of the time too. How's that between organizations, but also husband and wife dynamic? When you get home at the end of the day, how do you guys put things down? And
We don't.
yeah, we do our best to find balance. And usually our balance is like, all right, we've had enough, it's time to leave. And we go on vacation. Hawaii is our destination location. So we'll go there and just kind of like reset and refill our cups. But it's hard. Like, we understand the need. So we're hard workers, and there's, to me, like,
But I have a specific answer. I think that's the overall arching answer. And I think what I appreciate about our relationship is when we met through my nonprofit. And he was able to see my work ethic or my absolute dedication to the cause. I remember working literally 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, because I was so passionate. Now, is that healthy? No. But I did it. I can't take it back now. But he saw that, and he was a part of it, and he learned in his own story, watching my story, that, oh my gosh, I should share my side of the story as far as how relationships impacted his life and what his previous relationships look like. And then also being able to witness his entrepreneur journey, because he's created multiple businesses over the years. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about him, or you, I'm looking right at you, but what I've always appreciated about you is that you never gave up, and you've always stayed persistent, and you've always stayed committed. And every time you've seen a struggle, or every time you struggled, you kept going. And I think that is one of my biggest inspirations as an entrepreneur. You know, creating 2 businesses during the pandemic probably isn't ideal, but I did it. And there have been many times where I felt like, okay, I should probably throw in the towel. It's I don't know if it's going to work. But I knew that I can always lean on him to give me that encouragement and to keep fighting, because that's what he's been doing over the last 10 years, watching his entrepreneur journey. And then now seeing Anthem Live, like, this literally is a dream come true on so many levels, because our house at one point was our studio, and we welcomed people into our home. And that in and of itself was a dream. Before we had a home, we said our dream was to have a creative hub where people can come and create and share their stories, and we can just spend all night being creative and thinking of creative ideas. And that's what our home was for years. And then we had the opportunity to bring Anthem Live to life. And it's pretty amazing, because I get to watch my husband do what he does best, but also be able to be a part of the action also. So,
yeah.
And also for those who are wanting to start a business, Colorado has businesses, like, you can start it for $1 right now. So just go and do it. You know, if you have this idea, run with it. The one thing that she says is my persistence, or maybe not persistence, but dedication, resilience to keep going. It's so important. And maybe I got that, you know, from the military, just kind of like keeping things moving forward regardless of what happens. But I try my best to not see anything as like a full roadblock, but a speed bump. So, and some speed bumps are bigger than others, you know, so it's going to take you a little bit longer to traverse over that. But I'll never see anything as a roadblock, and now I can't do something because something stops me. Like, nah, it could have stopped me in that moment, but it didn't stop me. Like, I'm still going to go and do what I need to do. And
he's going to fly over the speed bump for sure. Yeah. He will fly over it before he's like, there's a speed bump, we should turn left. No, he will fly over it. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that's the one thing that I've learned from every entrepreneur, from every music artist, from every success story is keep going. That's the one thing that they all have in common, regardless of industry, regardless of impact. all of them, every single one of them, keep going. So why would I stop? You know, like, I don't know if you've seen that meme where the guy is mining for gold and he's like an inch away, but he has the mining axe on his back and he's walking backwards, and right under him is another guy and he's like sweating profusely and he looks like he's in the act of going, and his next strike is he's actually going to hit the diamonds, you know? So it's like, nah, you can never turn back or stop, because you'll never know how close you are to the levels of success that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy because I currently right now can say that I've surpassed every level that I've ever thought I would reach. Having my own building, having our house, like we own a home, like that's huge. We have 2 vehicles that are paid off. I have 4 beautiful, healthy kids. Like there's so many things that I would have never thought that I would have been able to reach, and I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, this is like uncharted territory for me now. Like not even my thoughts have reached where I currently am in life.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, let's just keep going then.
Yeah. It's like when you're at the rock bottom, how can you see up? Right. But maybe that's a question for both of you too, with the things that you guys have gone through. Like when you're rock bottom, how'd you keep on going? How'd you get that resilience, and what mindset did you have to start switching to?
The pandemic was hard. It was really life-changing on so many different levels for me. Moving out to Colorado was also life-changing. I went through a really deep, dark depression. I didn't know anyone here. I didn't really have, that same type of community that I had back in San Diego. I went through this whole identity crisis. My grandmother passed away. I was subpoenaed to go back to court to testify against the person who abused me. There were so many things happening in that year that I felt like prepared me for, future struggles that have since happened thereafter. But hitting rock bottom, it feels lonely. But when you have that support system, you have no choice but to keep going. And I knew that I didn't want to stay in that ugly place. I knew that, okay, these struggles are here right now, but they're not going to be forever. So you had to constantly remind yourself, or in this case, lean on my husband and him to remind us that it's going to be okay. It's our bank account might look like absolute trash, but it's going to be better one day. And really just leaning on the community, leaning on DCC. Yeah. And we've shared that story about, feeling that we were at rock bottom and not knowing how we were going to, get to the next day, but having that community to support us and uplift us was literally life-changing. And for anyone listening who's like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, oh, it looks like you have it all together, please believe me, like this was not easy. This was not given to us. This was not, it did not happen overnight. You hear all these success stories of, oh, they were lucky. This was not luck at all. This was a lot of hard work, a lot of nights of crying, a lot of days of crying, a lot of, oh my gosh, how are we going to figure this out? And a lot of days where we were literally trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, like having, you by my side and vice versa, we were able to power through, and having, that community to uplift us and remind us that we weren't going to stay at the bottom, that we just had to keep going.
Yeah, and I don't think that people grasp like the full understanding of the switch that she had to go through for moving out here. So when she says like she had a big network in San Diego, that's like a huge understatement. She was Miss San Diego, Miss Philippines National in terms of like beauty queen titles, and held all the titles, held everything that you can hold. She even had her own day named after her, like proclaimed by the city. Today is Kristen Faith Day. Like who has that? Like I don't know anybody that has. This is a Ben day. Like I don't, you know what I mean? This is a Steve day. I don't have, this isn't a TerryJosiah day.
Just my birthday.
Yeah, exactly. But like proclaimed by the city of San Diego multiple days. Like she's the princess. She was the princess of San Diego. So coming out here and not having any, like not knowing anybody was a huge, like it flipped her upside down in terms of like understanding who she was and her identity. And me, I feel like I was lucky enough to go through that earlier in life, in terms of like understanding who I was. And the big thing too was having the organization and having having all of that network in San Diego and the organization that she had, and working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, like she was mentioning, she ended up thinking that she was the organization that she started, versus looking at it as a seed that she planted and cultivated, and it grew into a beautiful tree that sustained everything that she needed. She thought that she was the organization. She thought that she was that tree, and having to like, hey, like, nah, it was just a seed you planted, you know, and like constantly reminding her who she is as a person and what her strengths are as an individual. Those things were it was a little difficult even for me, because you don't want to feel like your partner is like constantly leaning on you, or you're leaning on your partner. Like, you want good balance, you know? And so it was difficult for me, because when we moved out here, I had already gone through my identity moments and misunderstandings of who I was, and how do you get through those rock bottoms? Like, I think I went through that at 32 when I found myself homeless. You know, long story short, grandparents sold the house without telling us. Somebody knocked on the door, said, you guys got 60 days to vacate. And okay, 60 days later, now I'm homeless, and I was homeless for 92 days, kind of couching it, you know, and luckily I had a vehicle, but it was during that time that I was able to realize that I still had a roof over my head if I was in the car. I still had couches and people that I could rely on to sleep on their couches until I was able to get on my feet and find a spot. And that's really when like gratitude became everything for me. So finding and utilizing gratitude at my lowest, that's when I really understood that gratitude is it's the virtue that sustains the temperature of our happiness. And even in our Constitution, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, like, I don't think it should be a pursuit. I think it should be something that's on autopilot, that we can achieve at any given moment, because that's how we live life. If we're always searching for happiness, we're never going to be happy. That's like if you're always working for money, you're never going to be rich. You know, so those two things are like paralleled. And so it's like, well, stop working for money and stop searching for happiness. Like, be who you are, understand who you are, and find that peace within yourself, find peace within God, and recognize that through him, everything can happen. Everything does happen. And so we did take that leap of faith, and taking that leap of faith, now she finds herself on the sad end of trying to find identity. And now we come out here, and I get a job at the conservatory teaching music. I help facilitate the programs at a free studio for the community inside Pikes Peak Library District. And our worlds flipped immediately just by moving out here. And that was like a very rebalancing moment that we both had to endure. And there were times that during that process, like, if you just had your ear to the wall and you heard the house, like, could sound like we're yelling at each other, but we were literally like yelling to fight for what we wanted. And that was each other by our sides while we were going through all of this. And it's like, well, where's the miscommunication? Why don't I understand this? Why don't you understand that? And then once we found it, it was like, oh, okay, boom, we're locked in. And once we got locked in, I mean, you know, proof is in the pudding. We've been able to do some really great stuff. Yeah. And it's still, that doesn't mean that we don't have issues. We don't have problems, that we're not.
It's not all, you know,
rainbows and right.
So it's not all buttoned up, but you guys have fought for, you know, you guys have fought for what you want. You guys have fought for each other. That's just super cool. So awesome.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's really cool. Well, I know we're almost out of time, but what are you guys doing? You know, what's coming up? What's happening in the community? What's happening? Maybe some leaks of what's happening here at City Hub in a little bit. But I mean, you guys tell us about what's going on.
Well, thanks for asking. This New Year's, we're actually teaming up. Both of our companies are teaming up to host the biggest and most epic New Year's Eve party of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Of the year. So we're super excited. We have called it a night of magnificence. So anything that you can think of that possibly is magnificent will absolutely be there.
We're going to have stilt walkers, jugglers, contortionists, aerial dancers, samba dancers,
belly dancers,
hula hoopers, jugglers, magicians,
casino tables, photo booths, food trucks, and more.
Live music, live DJs, live music, performances, literally any and everything that's going to keep you entertained and having a great time time for New Year's.
And, the last 2 years, we really haven't been able to come together as a community.
Mm-hmm.
And, we love our city. And we hope that this party, this event, which we're also going to be raising money for COS City Hub, Leadership Pikes Peak, and Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center. We love our community so much that we wanted to put this production together to really bring us together for the first time in 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you haven't got your tickets yet, go to anthemmusicenterprises.com.
And then also, like with that, our production band, the Urban Classic, is fully taking over the showcase. So
that's awesome.
The Urban Classic takeover is happening, and the Urban Classic just launched an album called Things We Dream Of. It's nothing but music. It's beautiful. It's just an emotional journey, an emotional roller coaster, all live music, produced here in the state. We went out to Woodland Park for a week, did 22 acres, and just dove into emotions and emotional translation through sound. And it was beautiful. We all got to tap in, and I think we did 22 songs. 11 of them made the album. And again, album is beautiful. It's mood music. It's while you're studying. It's while you're worshiping. It's while you're doing anything, while you're cleaning, all of that. And it's just a beautiful emotional journey musically. And you'll get some of those live sounds on New Year's Eve.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So yeah, if you guys want to attend, that's anthemmusicenterprises.com to get your tickets for that. But it's going to be awesome. A night of magnificence.
Yeah.
Like they said. So guys, thank you so much for being here on the podcast, joining us, telling us a little bit about your guys' story. I really appreciate it. And I know everybody listening really appreciates it too. So
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
all right, we will see or catch you guys next time.
Hey, thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Curious Friends podcast. If you want to find out more about our guest, please check the show notes. If you would like to get connected with us, we would love to hear from you. And you can do that by sending us a DM on Instagram or Facebook, or you can email us at curiousfriendspodcast@discovery.church. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on whichever platform you're listening to us on. Please join us next time for some more great conversation. And like always, stay curious, friends.